Hello, my name is Stephen Dearborn, and this is my ethnographic interview. Today I'll be interviewing Caroline. She is a coworker of mine. So, Caroline, can you share with me anything specific about your culture, like when it comes to mind that informs you about your culture?
Okay, well, so we're specifically talking about queer culture, or
Well, all right, so you're part of LGBTQ community. What do you classify in the LGBTQ community?
well, I think that there's more broadly like a queer culture.
Okay.
That's broad, but then I think that there's also sub identity cultures, and I don't even know if I would use the word culture to describe them, other than just I think it's more of there's just sub communities.
So how did you originally come to know about your culture?
I think when I was younger, a lot of movies, just media portrayals. I spent a lot of time on YouTube watching daily vlogs of people.
If at all possible, can you share with me any stereotypes that you have heard shared about your culture? I'm sure there's a lot.
Well, so I was just watching, have you seen Nanette on Netflix? It's Hannah Gadsby. She's this Australian comedian. But she talks about when she first learned about Pride, and that was her. Her finding out about queer culture before she was open. And she makes a comment, she's I didn't know where the quiet gays went. And right. I think that I learned about what being gay was through very stereotypical characters on Glee. And that was it.
So do you feel like the stereotypes that you know of surrounding queer culture, do you think they're true? Or some of them?
I mean, stereotypes are always, they come from truth. That's why they exist. So, yeah, they can be true, but they're not always true.
Do you fit in any of the stereotypes?
If I want to be.
If you want to be. So do you feel like you do then? Just in general?
No.
Yes.
So sometimes.
I mean, so, all right, when you think about emotions that are present for you when you were treated as though you were a stereotype, what kind of emotions surface? If people are oh, you're part of the queer culture, you must be this certain way. What are your emotions surrounding that?
I think it depends on whether or not I see myself fitting into that stereotype as well. If someone's oh, you're just a cat lady that is gonna move in with your partner on the first date. Yeah, that's doesn't feel great, but sometimes it's true. I've had a relationship where we basically moved in after the first date, so can't be that mad because it kind of was accurate.
Are there any stereotypes that you have heard shared about my culture? Because obviously, I'm in the LGBTQ culture too, but there's different, like you said, there's different subcategories.
Right. Well, we've even had discussions about how gay men and lesbian women differ, and the stereotypes that, and they're super perpetuated. Gay men are supposed to be loud and uncommitted and
flamboyant.
Yeah, and always partying, whereas lesbian women are more homebodies and super settled down and are super committed. But then there's overlaps as well. I think we've talked about the whole dating within friend groups and overlapping.
Right. So you believe some of those stereotypes are probably true as well?
I don't know. I don't want to say they're true. They're not true for everyone, but they come from truth. And I think they come from truth because of media portrayals.
Do you feel like you fit, as a queer woman, do you feel like you fit into any of the stereotypes of a gay man?
Yeah.
In some ways.
Mm-hmm.
So now are those stereotypes that are specific to gay men or just LGBT culture in general?
I'm not a Like I don't sit at home like knitting every night. Like
Right.
I like to have fun, but that's just because I'm young. So there's like I don't know. It's hard to identify where it's a queer culture thing, or if it's a millennial culture thing, or if it like because some of it's just because I'm young, and
Right.
some of it is because I identify as a woman, and some of it's because I identify as a queer woman, and I don't know. So like we got to talk about intersectionality too. Some of it's because I identify with multiple different cultures.
Gotcha. So, I mean, and we talked about this before, like emotions that are present. Like if you are treated as a stereotype, so you're saying like if you feel like that stereotype is true of your culture, then you're accepting of it, or a
I
true.
don't get mad about
Right.
it. And I also I don't know, like I guess it depends on how the person uses the stereotype. Like if they're using it for evil means, then like yeah, that's gonna be super upsetting. But like if they're using it just to be like kind-hearted or joking, like I think it's the intention behind the stereotype and how it's using. Because like stereotypes in and of itself like are not hateful. It's like when you add prejudice into them, but like that's one thing.
Do you feel like you're more comfortable with people from inside your culture presenting stereotypes to you than you would be with people outside of your culture?
Yeah, and I think like that. Yeah, like it's like when people make like gay jokes, like
It's more
And they're
comfortable
also
if it's someone
queer,
else who's
yeah.
gay making the joke.
right, like it's funny, and you're like because it's the intention behind it. You know that they're not actually like homophobic, or it's like internalized homophobia, which is like a whole other thing. But they're not doing it to be malicious. But like if someone else was to just like make a gay joke,
You might be
I
offended.
might be like a little like just not necessarily offended because I like to like give people the benefit of the doubt. Look more into it, like, yeah, what do you mean by that? Like, why do you think that that's okay? But I think I would be like a little like apprehensive around them.
So, from your perspective, what do you think the biggest difference between like your culture and my culture are?
Well, I think gay men like dominate queer culture still, definitely, like because of multiple other systems of like oppression at work
Would you-
within like queer culture.
Would you go as so far as to say, and this might be a little bit off topic, but do you feel like gay white men dominate
Oh,
that
yeah.
culture?
Oh yeah, because it's everything. I mean, like within the hierarchy of queer spaces, like yes, and like white men like just have power in our system in general. So like I don't know, and I think like the easiest way to like witness this is at like pride parades. It's like a bunch of and like I at like gay bars, like it's always still like gay white men who like make me feel uncomfortable and like are super off-putting.
Why,
They're
how
not
do you,
even attracted to me, and like, they still make me feel.
so you would say a big difference between you and me is like
power.
if I was in power or if a group of gay white men were out at a bar, such as myself, and you were there, you might not necessarily feel comfortable in that situation.
I'd probably start there. And like I have friends who are like gay white men, but like them in large groups. Like,
You can't handle it.
not that I can't handle them, but I just like, would not choose to necessarily like go up to them at a bar, especially.
What do you like? What are your issues with going up to them?
Well, it's just like they're there to have fun with each other, and like there's that whole like we're different enough. Like yes, we're both queer, but like, we're different. And I don't know. Like I think just like groups of like men in general are like super intimidating.
Got you. Yeah. So with that being said, from your point of view, what are the biggest similarities between us and our cultures? I mean, besides the obvious, you know.
Yeah, I think like just like the overarching like queer culture, and that there is still like a hierarchy of like what is normal, or like what is deemed normal in society. So like still being like a minoritized identity, even within that identity, there being more power.
So basically, like talking about the hierarchy of everything. So do you feel like there's some similarities there?
I mean, if you look broadly at like being queer,
Right.
versus being like heterosexual.
So if I were your therapist, what would you want me to know, or like how would you want me to act for you to feel most comfortable? Is there any like special concessions you'd want me to make, or is there any like?
And I think like I think every therapist I've been to has also been queer, which is like
That matters, right?
no, it
That's
does. It
important.
matters, but I didn't know it. Like it wasn't like I like actively sought it out, and I wondered about that. Like if I like return to therapy, is that something that like because I don't always think it's a good thing to always share your identities with people. I think like we also need to like not just be with people that are like more comfortable because they have similarities to us. It's like I don't necessarily think that I would need a therapist that would share my identities, but it just like so happened that that was the case. But it was never something that like needed or like forced out into the open. It was like never like an outward question. I think I spent a lot of sessions just like talking about like if partners came up or like, if like romantic or like whatever things came up. It was always like, oh, like my part, like very general, and
Sure.
so like I don't know. I don't think it needs to be like, are you gay?
Right. Like that's not a prerequisite, but if they are, it's nice.
Well, yeah, and I like that.
Is there maybe a little more relatable, or?
No, just like especially until I was like, for a while I wasn't super comfortable with being out in general, and so it was nice to be able to talk about my romantic partners without the therapist clarifying their gender, because like that's not really as important as like let's talk about like the underlying issues. Let's talk about why you have trouble with like romance. Like let's talk about the other stuff without being like, oh, like what's your sexual preference?
Gotcha. Okay. So, as we close, if there was one moment that made you feel less comfortable, can you share what that was and why you felt some discomfort?
You chose the good chair.
I chose the good chair. That's it, though. And then I guess finally, what could I have done differently besides choosing the good chair to make you feel more comfortable?
I think like it also is going to be different, right? Like when you're with clients, like you're not going to know as much about them as you do with me already.
Right.
So I don't really know how to answer that.
That's okay. So I appreciate you taking the time today, and thank you.